Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to TDF webinar episode 3, Leading with Impact, Practical Insights of Real World Success. Today's conversation focuses on the inspiring journeys and valuable insights of women leaders who are shaping the future. I would like to welcome and introduce our speakers, starting from Ms. Muniza Bhatt. She has been with KPMG for over 27 years, and for the last 15 years, she's been a partner at the firm. She is the first lady partner of the top four largest accountancy firm of Pakistan. She's been recognized for her leadership with numerous awards. We also have Ms. Sadaf Sheikh, an award winning CIO and IT professional with over 21 years of experience. She is one of the only two female CIOs in Pakistan who has led large scale digital transformation across multiple industries. Currently, she is working as CIO at TPL Insurance. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we dive into the discussion, I did like you both to share a bit about your journey, starting from Ms. Muniza Bhatt. Muniza, please.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum everybody. It's a pleasure to be on this forum. And when Naumeena came up to me with this topic, I said I can't resist, but be part of it because this is something which is very close to my heart. Encouraging other women to come into leadership roles
मुनीसा आपकी आवाज चली गई ब्रेक हो गई
I think I can't see her as well.
ओके इंटरनेट या मुनीसा आई कांट हियर यू
Hello.
ओके या मुनीसा यू वर सेइंग समथिंग बिकॉज़ आई थिंक so आप लॉस्ट कर गए थे प्लीज प्लीज
Oh,
कैन यू
I'm
स्टार्ट
sorry.
अगेन
Yeah, my
या
apologies for that. So,
नो
first of
वरी
all, thank you so much for having me on this forum. And when Nomina approached me with this topic, I was very excited because I'm a big proponent for women leadership and women in the corporate arena and all. So I thought I must play my part and share whatever I can with other women so that they can take inspiration from it and learn whatever can they can learn. So you've asked me to share my story. I
yes
come from a
please
family of doctors, and nobody in my family was a chartered accountant. And growing up, it was like taken for granted that I will also take up the field of medicine, as it was one of the approved fields for women. I would say at that time. This I'm talking
mm-hmm.
about something like in the 1990s, late 80s and 1990s. But being the rebel that I am, so I just one day went and changed my subjects from pre-medical to commerce. And I basically wanted to do MBA from IBA, and unfortunately, I could not pass the test at IBA. And then I discovered about CA as a field, and I just gave the test, not having much hope, but Alhamdulillah, I passed it. And then since then, I think everything is like a history to me. Yeah.
Yes, awesome, great. So, would you like to say something about your journey? How did you
Sure,
get into
Nomina.
this?
So, first of all, thank you so much, Nomina and TDF, for inviting me. And like
Thank you.
Muniza said, the topic itself is something very much that I'm excited and passionate about. I believe that there are so few women leaders, especially at senior leadership levels, that whenever we can find opportunities to come across and put together a platform where women are given the opportunity to actually share their journeys. I think that's always amazing. And leading with impact to me basically means creating leaders where diversity and inclusion is valued, and we're empowering people, not just women, but also everybody who's aspiring to be in a leadership role. They're given the opportunity to grow and learn and be mentored. So essentially a very very relevant topic in this day and age, where we're not just doing mentoring but also reverse mentoring at so many levels. In terms of my journey, so I also come from a family of doctors, like Muniza says. So
Wow.
hardly anyone in IT. If you don't become a doctor, you go into finance. So essentially, IT was something that I took upon myself. I did get into IBA, but I decided to go to FAST instead. So I graduated, I did my computer science, my undergrad in computer science, and my master's in software project management, both from FAST in Karachi. And it was kind of accidental because two of my cousins, I found their books lying around, and had nothing much to do during my inter holidays. So I decided to start reading because I was a voracious reader, and that's how I discovered programming. And that became a lifelong passion. So I started my journey as a software programmer, and over the first 10, 12 years of my career, I spent deliberately on the side of the service provider industry, because I thought I wanted to be where the tech was being created rather than where the tech was only being consumed. In the last 8 to 10 years, I've moved towards the corporate sector. I've worked as the head of IT and CIO for Abu Dhabi, for PepsiCo in Pakistan, for JS Bank, and now I'm with TPL Insurance. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster, so to speak. And like as you mentioned, when I was recently awarded the CIO award in the leader category, out of 300 people that were present on the occasion, the ceremony was being held for the first time in Pakistan. I was the only female leader there.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
so
That's like
so
big
I
achievement.
instead of feeling a sense of pride, I actually felt kind of desolate. Honestly, it was a bit sad. I wasn't as
Yes.
happy as I thought I would be, because it was just sad. I mean, when we
We'll
see
talk on
so
those
many people.
points. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll talk
so
on
yeah,
those points. So we have a long questions. We have questions which we would like to go, and then
absolutely,
we'll, go into all of this thing, because I know we have a lot to say on these topics, because there's lots going on in our life. Anyway,
absolutely.
so Munisa, I would like the first question to start with you. First thing it's coincident that you both are from the doctor's family, so technically initial journey was both of yours same, which is very nice, interesting. My first question with Muniza would be like, if you can start, and then sort of maybe after once she's done you can. So how do you define success for yourself as a leader? What are the parameters? What are the areas where how you define those for yourself?
Okay, so Nomina's success, I think, is a very relative term. What may be success for one may not be for another person. So for me,
Exactly.
success is like not a destination, it's a journey. And it's a journey
Mm-hmm.
filled with hard work, perseverance, sacrifices, and a lot of sincerity of purpose. I believe it also involves learning from your failures. So it's like, it's a complete journey that you go through. And for me, it is
Mm-hmm.
not a destination that you reach. It's a lifelong journey, I would say. And in what I feel is that, for me, success is not like the amount of money that you can make, but I believe it's like, how you can contribute back to the society that you come from, to the world, basically, and make a difference in the world and also in people's lives. So for me, I think success is a very relative term, and this is what I would define success as. And I'm sure everybody has a different view to it. Yeah.
So what is your thoughts in that?
I think very nicely put by Muniza. I would kind of like to extend the same thought that I think I no longer define success exclusively by my career accomplishments. Of course, those were important. I realized that who I am is not exclusively what I do. So yes, what I do is a very big part of who I am, but it's not all that I am. So for me, success is very multifaceted. So I would integrate achievements in all aspects of my life, personal, if I'm investing in my own health and well-being, professional, where I'm not just getting promoted, but also ensuring an impact on industry and an impact on business growth for whichever organization that I'm working for, giving back to the community. being successful in my family life, being able to balance my work and my life, and being able to give time to those that I love. I also realized that a lot of people say that you cannot have it all. I am a firm believer that yes, you can have it all. You don't just go about and have it all at once. So yes, if you want to have it all, you need to kind of prioritize different things at different phases in your life, and that is essentially the key to success.
Awesome, great. Thank you. And I think this was a good insight, but both of you in two like very similar, but yes, in two different mindset and thoughts. The next one is about what are the key milestones you have achieved so far? So, how would you, Sadaf, you want to start with this question, please?
Sure. So I would say that there are very few women in tech in general. So choosing a field which is primarily male dominated, just like Maniza said, essentially not many women in chartered accountancy either, in finance. So that was in itself, I was the first in a lot of ways in whatever job roles that I've had. I was the first female consultant. My first job with Calsoft, I was the first female consultant. I was the first one that the woman that they had ever sent to Middle East on different projects. I was the first female director in tech with TRG Affinity. I was the first female CIO that PepsiCo had in the region. I have had a significant number of firsts, including the first, CIO award for a woman leader from Pakistan. I also got a Global Women Leadership Award in the FMCG innovation category last year. So that was again, it made me proud to be able to represent the Pakistani women, and especially the women in tech, at all these forums. And I thought that at various levels, being able to break the glass ceiling, it helps to set a precedent. It helps to hopefully inspire others that it's doable, and to be able to be a role model for the girls that are coming up along the ranks.
Yes, awesome, great. So, first of many, and I am sure Muniza has also many of the first as well. So, let's hear from Muniza on this point. So, what are the key milestones you have achieved so far?
Okay, so Nomina, I qualified as a chartered accountant in the year 2000, and then I
Yes.
became a partner in 2008. So I was the first female partner in the big four accountancy firms of Pakistan. And I think
Wow.
I was the maybe fourth in female in the KPMG region in the Southeast East Asia region. So
Wow.
that was a first in Pakistan. It was a first, and I believe that that did break the glass ceiling, because in the big four firms I never heard about a woman becoming a partner. And so initially when I became a partner, all my I think my my your prerogative is just like, because you're the first and you don't have any other woman in that role that you can aspire to. So I was just busy just tackling my family life and my my work life and everything. But it was when women started coming up to me and telling me how they look up to me, and what an inspiration I am for them, that they never thought that a woman could be in that role, that I realized that I think I have a greater responsibility on my shoulders. And then I started thinking of how I can help other women in the profession, and outside of it also, in the corporate leadership program and all. So it is then that I became a mentor for my institute, and I started mentoring. It was initially I became a mentor for females, and then the response that I was getting was alhamdulillah really good. So I had male young professionals also coming up for mentoring sessions. And I felt the
Great.
difference that I made in their lives. The feeling that of making a difference in somebody's life was unparalleled. You felt that you really felt worthwhile. That's the feeling that I got
Yes.
basically. So after that, after
That's
the mentoring
awesome.
procedure, I thought I have to set other milestones for myself. So like,
Mm.
I'm actively involved in the steering. I'm part of the steering committee of HR Metrics and the initiative for women on board, where we like, publish directory for women, which companies can refer to, because there's a corporate requirement now that you have to have one female as part of your board. So I'm actively involved in that initiative. And then apart from that, I'm also part of the managing committee of the Pink Ribbon, which is the breast cancer awareness. So, these causes are very close to my heart, and I thought this is one of the ways in which I can, give back to the community in a larger sense. And along the way, Alhamdulillah, God has been very kind. I've been blessed with quite a few awards, like the Women of Inspiration from Dawood Foundation and the Bonds Miracle Women. And, just lately I won an international award, which is from the Berkeley Middle East company, which is like, an influential finance leader. So the awards keep
Wow.
coming in, but I think we need to keep, working alongside our other female leaders, though they are few and far between. But, together I believe we can make a difference.
Definitely, definitely. That's why we are here as well. That's why we want to, with a little webinar, maybe somehow we can inspire people and, from your journey and, what you guys have gone through. So that's awesome. And what you will be further telling and giving them the mentorship during this whole small webinar session. So my next question with Muniza would be like, what specific qualities do you believe and are essential for women aspiring to be leaders like you?
Okay, you know what, Nomina? I've seen that women lack self belief. I don't know why they do that. I think Sadaf also touched upon it initially in her talk. So, they are born to do so much, but not believe too much in themselves. I don't know why. This is I think, a self limitation. And I have been through it too. Like, because I remember when I was being offered partnership, in the firm, I delayed it by almost 1.5 years because I kept telling my senior partner that I don't think I fit the role, or I don't think I'm good enough. And he was like flabbergasted. He was like, I have your male colleagues who are vying for the spot. And here you are saying that you feel that, you require more time, or you think that, because, I felt it was, I did not see a woman in that role. So it was difficult for me to perceive myself carrying out those duties. So women lack a lot of self belief in themselves. They lack confidence, although they'll be doing all the work and even more than, what is required from them and what their male counterparts do. But they somehow feel like, they are not good enough, or they've not performed well enough, which is absolutely just a mirage, or I think it's just like, not completely not true at all. So I
I
believe.
think the word for that is imposter syndrome that we were talking about just before we went live, and I think I absolutely agree. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
they, I think, are too hard on themselves. They feel like, they need to do more. But I believe that, they just need to have that confidence along with, what they're doing. And another thing I feel is that they need to speak their mind out, because they intend to keep quiet. They feel that if they ask this question, maybe, they are it's construed differently, and they do not, like, make sense. But believe me, half of the time, in fact, more than half of the time, the questions that women have in their mind are very, very important and pertinent questions. Another thing that I feel where women lack is networking. I believe that your net worth is your network. That's always been my slogan. So women actually, they get so involved in either, in naturally it's difficult for them because they're balancing a family and a work life. In that process, they tend to, like, put networking on the back burner. So I believe for women to network also, because that is how they will, like, get in sync with the whole process of, like, the corporate world and the leadership roles and all. So these are few things that I believe that women should, like, be more on top of the game at.
Yes, yes, yes. I certainly agree with you on all of these. So, Sadaf, your thought in this?
So the first one, I think Muniza and I kind of share that thought that we don't feel we. I think we somehow intrinsically we lack that self confidence within ourselves. We never think we're ready, and primarily that has got something to do with the female temperament and something to do with the whole cultural connotation, not just at home but also the way we're brought up and the way we're groomed early on in our careers. So the imposter syndrome is very much there. Men have the opposite. I mean, if they're half as ready as us, they would still be vying for that role. They would be like, okay, we'll learn on the job. You are never ready. Nobody is ever ready. We're all winging it. So creating that self belief and essentially not having strong allies. We need male allies as well as female allies and mentors in the workplace, not just our own workplace but also in the industry and across industries as well. Having strong mentors and role models and allies that push us to step out of her comfort zone, I think that's important. And that's where, again, networking does play a part. I have this beef with women. They do not give it the kind of attention or importance. Therefore, they do not make time for it. I mean, they would rather spend half a day in a spa, but not spend those 2 hours going to a networking event, because, that's exactly the time that they need to go home and, serve food to their family. So, essentially, another quality which I feel we lack is, uh, we're too conscious of, and we too take things too personally. We're too conscious of other people's opinions and perceptions. We need to develop a far thicker skin if we are to survive in the corporate world, because everything doesn't always go according to plan, even the best laid plans. And this is applicable for both men and women, by the way. But we're more conscious of, oh, if I say this, how will I be perceived? We are more conscious about how others will perceive us compared to our male counterparts, and that often holds us back in terms of being assertive in expressing our opinions. And I firmly believe that if you don't get a seat at the table, if nobody's offering you a seat at the table, bring your own chair. So sometimes, you just have to kind of step out of your
Very
comfort zone and absolutely, take that initiative. Otherwise, nobody is going to come and offer to you things on a platter. One other factor I feel is that, you know, the way we interact, not just at work, is very, very docile. Even now in Pakistan, I feel that um, there's a lot of mansplaining that goes on in a lot of forums, and sometimes when a woman has a great idea, that's taken upon and elaborated by a guy, and then he or she kind of gets kind of credit for that. We do not stand up for ourselves and for other women in the workplace. So I think being more vocalized in terms of asserting for what the rights of women are in the workplace, I think that's another area we do not take a stand. We always stay on the back burner, we always stay on the back foot. We underplay our strengths. We kind of create there's no level playing field, as we say. So that's where equity comes in, not just for your own self but for also other females in the organization. We need to be able to create that equitable environment where others who are aspiring to be where we are, or even maybe surpass us in some ways,
Mm.
they should have that level playing field. And essentially that
Mhm.
requires us to take a strong stand, which we often don't do because we're very non-confrontational by nature, I think.
I agree, and there are so many women who have a lot they can achieve, but there are men who know that they have more capabilities, and they always try to taunt, hint them, or undermine them, or sometimes so they get backed up, or their confidence they lose their confidence. So that is there. So again, as being a thick skin, and if you want to be in the men's world, you need to be a thick skin. Things. So it's an interesting conversation. I think so. There are a lot of things which we woman needs to understand, especially and the quality. If you want to move forward, you want to become something, and get into a position, we need to look into it. So, despite having the potential, we see very few women in the leading positions. So, based on your experience, what are the key challenges women face in climbing the leadership ladder? Because again, I understand we spoke a little bit about that कि women के ये problems है ये issues हैं but अगर if these how do you think so they can sort of work around these challenges or how we can collaborate and work on these areas as well.
Can I take
Sadaf, would
this
you want
first?
to start on?
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
please.
the way I have analyzed this and the way I have observed this, and I have worked for software houses, I have worked for consulting companies, I've worked for the product development company, I have worked for a multinational global Fortune 500 company. I find that, leaving aside all the areas of improvement that we've highlighted for women, the qualities that we need to inspire in women leaders, the ecosystem is not supportive. Even in a company like PepsiCo, which claims to be one of the best employers when it comes to diversity and inclusion, I found the policies were not conducive to women moving beyond middle management. The daycare facility was available only for kids up till the age of 6 or 7. So if you're a senior woman leader, you're not going to have a 6-year-old child, right? In most cases, most
Sure.
probably your child is going to be 10 plus. What do you do with that
Mhm,
child when you go to work full time? Can you make an exception? No.
mhm.
Figure it out. So when you want women to be in senior leadership roles, you need, whatever few women that are there in top leadership positions at the board level, at the C level, they need to influence policy, which is something which is not happening. You see a lot of heads of HR, a lot of CHROs who are just puppets, who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, because you need to understand that, like I said, you can have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time. Women go through different phases in their life. They are the primary caretakers, they're the primary home makers. Even if they're a full time working person, the expectation and demands on a woman's time are multifaceted. So the companies are not doing enough, I feel, to support women in this journey. And that's when I say that, we lack the support system both within the family. Of course, there are exceptions, but at the corporate level, it's everywhere. You don't
I
have
agree with
after
you.
school support. You don't have policies which are conducive. When I say create a level playing field, when women are doing twice the work that a guy is doing, because he's not going home and cooking the meal for the family, he's not going home and helping the kids with the homework 90% of the time. I'm not saying there are, of course, exceptions, just to be clear, but majority of times the woman is balancing two full-time jobs, the one at home and the one in the workplace. Do we get wellness days? Do we get mental health days? Do we get days when we're feeling too overwhelmed? Do we have a support system at work where we can talk to someone? Even during the pandemic, one of the worst experiences that anybody has had. I had two questions. What do women do with the kids now that the daycare is closed? What do women do with the kids whose kids are too old to go to the daycare, but they're not old enough to be left alone at home? Then, secondly, what do we do about people who are going into depression because, there's no driver, there's no maid, everything's shut down. People are suffering through mental trauma. Does the company support us? Because obviously, women bring a lot of empathy, a lot of nurturing to the workplace, but as a result, we are very sensitive and we take things and handle things in a very different way. Absolutely no support. So until and unless, Nomina, that changes, and we should be the agents of change. It's not going to change on its own. If Muniza doesn't speak up, if I don't speak up, if we don't put these things out on the table, if we don't create more equitable level playing field, more and more women keep dropping off from the workforce uh, at mid to mid senior levels. They just can't deal with it, because obviously not everybody has somebody at home taking care of their kids for them, like a mother or a mother-in-law. What do? And then there
Mhm.
is so much, I would say, passive aggressive, indirect kind of bullying going on. I've heard with my own ears comments like, and this is where the culture of the organization, and the culture is driven by senior management, is driven by HR, it's driven by, a lot of things. uh, Water cooler conversations around, oh, women have it so easy. They go off on a 3 month or a 6 month maternity. That's not a walk in the park, guys. Um, I would
I
love to.
agree.
I would love to go on a 3 week maternity and have my husband take care of the child for the next 3 months completely. I mean, I'm totally on board. Give them a 3 month paternity then.
I
Give the
like the
teenage.
idea actually.
Exactly. So, so essentially, these
Why
are some of
not?
the reasons. Yeah.
Okay, so if I can
Nice.
build on that, Nomina, for me, I
Please
think
do.
it's such a paradox actually, because if you see the results of any school or any university, you will find all the toppers, all the students topping are usually females. But then you don't
Yes.
see that translating into the corporate leadership roles or into the workforce as such. Now
Mm.
we know that women have a biological clock, which is fine, because they have to naturally get married at a certain time, they need to have kids at a certain time, so the clock is ticking. At the same time, I think their career clock is also ticking. So the time that they need to like get married is the time that they need to start their careers. The time that they need to have build a family, is the time that they need that promotion. So you see, like, basically it's all very timed for women, whereas it's not like that for men. So what Sadav just mentioned, equity is very important, and that was the tagline of International Women's Day 2023: embrace equity. So what is required basically is to provide the infrastructure to them, so that they can also pursue their dreams of accomplishing whatever they want in their careers. That would naturally require very empathetic employers, to have daycare centers to provide them, because they are the primary caregivers. So they need to have the peace of mind that while they are at work, their children are being tended to properly. And I think it's not just daycare centers, it's also safe transport that needs to be provided to them, because you see, they need to commute from work, sometimes they need to sit late, so they have to have that facility of safe transportation. Apart from that, I think one of the good factors that has come out from COVID is the use of technology. We've seen how we can do remote working. We can also practice flexi working hours. All these factors would definitely lead to a greater, women workforce, and that is something that the employers need to focus on. So these are certain things I think that if we provide the proper infrastructure to women, then you would definitely see an increase in their numbers, basically.
What do you Sadaf, I was just thinking while you guys were all talking, I was writing down a few points. So, few things definitely which we have mentioned about the COVID. I think so. COVID has really helped a lot of women who are not able to get out. And like in my office as well, I have some women who can't go out, and it's difficult for them to travel every day. So, but they're working from home, and I think so. This has happened in finance industry and multiple IT industry and all this industry, and it's a very good thing. Which one thing out of the COVID was that a work from home, and the technology is being complete is being utilized well. Second thing is that the problem is that when providing a complete structure to a female in terms of babysitting or having their senior mid-level like junior क्या कहते हैं kids on the office or giving them the facilities. There are not many MNCs or FMCGs or these kind of high corporate companies or industries who can do that, who can provide that kind of facilities to
Even
these
they're not
women.
doing it. Even they're not
But
doing it. So
they
that
if
was
they
my
are
point,
doing,
right?
they are not
Even
doing, which
they are
is
not
very
doing
bad.
it.
Yeah, yeah, they are not doing it, but they are also, there are very many mid-tier companies. There are many mid-tier companies in Pakistan who are not able to provide that because they don't have that kind of a financial support or the budget for supporting this cause as well. So how would you like? I mean, the bigger organization, they have the money, they have the budget,
So,
yet they are
so
not
I'll
doing it.
come to
That's
that.
another
So
separate thing.
I have seen the startup ecosystem very closely as well. Startups don't have typically a lot of money, and whatever money they
Hmm.
have, it is meant to basically grow the business. So I'll give you a few examples from across the world.
Please,
They would
please.
provide a space. You can bring your own maid, or if your child is old enough, they can come and sit there, do their homework. They wouldn't stop you from bringing your child to work, because obviously you can't leave the child unsupervised. At least it's a safe space. You have a room which you can allocate for the older kids. They can sit there, watch TV, do their homework, do something. So when there's a will, there's a way. And a lot of women telecommute, and half the day they work from the office, they go for meetings, but the rest of the day, once the kids are back home, they work from home, so that there's somebody at home keeping an eye on the kids and stuff. So you have to come up with innovative solutions. Human beings are so innovative. I'm sure we can come
Definitely,
up with
definitely.
innovative solutions. We don't have to have one size fits all. Then a lot of companies who couldn't provide daycare and all of that because it's a big expense, they would give a certain allowance, whatever they could. That would go towards the mother arranging for some kind of help at home or something like that. So it kind of offsets, and it's an incentive for bringing 50% or more of the workforce in and getting the creative advantages and the resilience advantages and the empathy that women bring to the workforce. That's a very small price to pay. We have so many different kinds of allowances and incentives and bonuses. Why can't we make this something which is also incentivized. I mean, and
And
it could be for
it's
both
a
men and women,
concept of,
because with
yeah,
the
yeah,
economy
please
being
go.
what it is, Nomina, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of guys have their wives working now. So it goes both
Yes.
ways. It goes both
Yes.
ways. So if it's offered as an incentive, as a facility, and there's an option, even the guys would love to avail that opportunity. And because more and more women are forced to go into the workforce now, even when previously they were not. And, because they could survive on a single income.
Yes. Yes.
I think
Yes.
another thing,
Monisa, you
Nomina,
want to put an insight on this?
yeah, yeah. So, another thing that they can look into is where they have paucity of funds, we can have a bunch of companies pool in their resources and, like, have a facility where different employees of those organizations can, like, use the daycare facility and or childcare or whatever. So I think this is also one of the areas where they can collaborate, where different companies can collaborate and, have a safe space for their employees.
So this is just one aspect, Nomina. I was part of the diversity and inclusion committee of Pasha for about a year or so, and you would be shocked. There were certain companies which did not even have separate washrooms for females. They said, "Oh, we're too
Mhm.
small." I mean, that's something which is so basic. That doesn't cost an arm and a leg, guys. I mean, come on. And
Yes,
obviously,
exactly.
providing a safe commute, like you mentioned, you can have a van
Yes.
service. You can pay maybe 8,000, 10,000 for the van service. After all, you're giving fuel allowance to the guys as well. So just because the girl doesn't drive or ride a bike or something doesn't mean that she doesn't have the right to safe transportation, especially in
Mhm.
the cultural connotation in which we're dealing with. And essentially allowing for telecommute and work from home and remote work. There are entire back offices for major companies working from Pakistan and India and Lebanon and all these countries. So,
Mhm.
in a lot of cases, it doesn't require your physical presence for many, many roles.
Mhm.
So, we need to look
Exactly.
at opportunities rather than just saying, okay, only come in when you need to. And there's no 9 to 5 clock in, clock out system. So we need to kind of evolve, I think, from the workplace practices point of view as well. A lot of
So I
these things don't require a lot of money.
where there's a will, there are,
Mhm.
yeah,
There's a
so they
way.
just
And I was just thinking while you guys were talking, I mean, in USA and states and abroad, there's a lot of concept of babysitting. And I think so there are a lot of women at home who are not able to, or they don't have that capacity, or they don't have that kind of professional education where they can go and do something and they don't get money. So maybe this woman can start looking into building babysitting concept in Pakistan as well, where within that same area where the kids are
A
living on the
community,
same house,
like
they're
a
women.
community center, and
Yes,
some
yes,
communities are,
and
by
they
the way,
should
doing
be like,
that.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, huh? Pardon?
And some communities are doing that. It's not mainstream yet, but some communities are doing that. So there
No,
are,
but it
like,
can be like within the
yeah.
area, like not necessarily it has to be community. Like for example, if I live in an apartment and there's a woman in an apartment who does the babysitting part, and my kids can go there, she can make sure that they are fed well, and that there's a certain cost involved in that, right? So she charge a certain money or whatever it is for the babysitting the kids. Like in US, they ask for an hour based thing, right? So in the same way, the thing the kid is supposed to, she's supposed to make the kid sit and do the homework and, all those sort of things while the mother is still away. So I think so that concept we should
Yeah,
also bring it
when
in
I said
Pakistan
community, I
and
didn't mean like ethnic or other communities. I meant like the community living wherever you're living, like
okay,
apartments
within the
or
vicinity.
like the mohalla or the vicinity or whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Great. So, okay, so our last question would be is like, how can women power create a network of support for other women in their surroundings? Uh, Muniza, you want to talk about it?
yes, yes. So as I think we've dwelled upon this earlier also. So I think thing is when women
We have
come
the
into
time, don't worry.
yeah, yeah. So when women come into a leadership role, I think it's onerous on them. It's very, like, it's their moral duty and responsibility to pull up other women as well. Because I feel that if you do not do that, you need to create a tunnel basically of women where you have a whole process where women can just come into their shoes, something like a succession plan or something. So I think it's very important for women who are in those roles to mentor, to guide, to provide advice to other women, so that they can also, like, come into those roles. And one of as we touched upon, most of the time these women, although they may be very competent, they do not have the confidence in them. So, like, Nomina, when I've been mentoring young accounting professionals, in when you're mentoring somebody, you cannot take the decision for them. And I feel most of the time they know the answer to their problems. It's just that they lack the self belief and the confidence in them to take the plunge, to take that new job, or to break away from the family, basically, and carry on with their career objectives. And so it's most of the times we just need to provide them that listening ear, and to provide them the mentorship and the hand holding part, where they would just, like, flourish after that. So I believe it is incumbent on women, who are in those positions and those roles, to, like, mentor other females, and to, like, provide them with the right advice and the right guidance, so that they can also achieve their potential, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, yes, Sadaf, what for
I
you?
w-
How would
I
you like to
I
support
would
women?
I think take it a step further. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Years and years of lack of confidence and years of gaslighting. By the time women enter the workforce, or by the time they become middle managers, most of them, they even surprise themselves when they do, because it's not by design. I think I've been doing a lot of mentoring for TCF over the years. So ninth and 10th graders are part of the Rebel program. And I think that's where you need to catch them while they're young. So, like, Muniza mentioned, and we all know, that's about 80% of our medical graduates are females. A lot of our toppers are females. So, they don't lack skills, they don't lack intelligence, they don't lack stamina or courage. They are competing at the same level with the men, with the boys in their academics. Then suddenly what happens? Because academically speaking, the parents and the siblings, brothers and uncles and all, they're very supportive. Yes, you can do it. You, we want you to get that gold medal, we want you to get that distinction. But the moment it comes to entering into the practical application of whatever that degree that you've taken, be it the medical profession, that support is not there. And they're so and they're kind of left stranded. Okay, करना है तो कर लो, हम तो नहीं कह रहे, नौकरी की तो ज़रूरत नहीं है, तुम्हें क्या ज़रूरत है? मियाँ तुम्हारा कमा रहा है, अब्बा तुम्हारे दे रहे हैं. So essentially, without that, support being there, and in fact, so many obstacles placed in their way, that, okay, you really want to work. Let's see you navigate this obstacle course. If you navigate this obstacle course, then you get the prize. So don't make this so hard for the females in your life. And I think we need to mentor girls in the O levels and A levels, in the ninth and 10th, in the intermediate, much more, much before the time that they're ready to come into the workforce. They need mentoring at that level, and they need it now, simply because otherwise they will end up like a bunch of the others who completely lost causes. The other part is, like I said, we do not emphasize the need for networking and for building strong connections for learning and growth enough. It is I set up with Zainab, she leads tech, tried my level
Mm-hmm.
best to mentor. Why did I do that? Because when I was moving to Pepsi from Abu Dhabi, they said, okay, we would prefer to have a female head of IT. Can you help us find one? I interviewed so many women, I couldn't really find a suitable replacement, because there are so few women who were ready and groomed enough for that role. Set up that forum, but believe me, I've cried tears over this. I literally have to put a gun to their heads to show up for the mixer. You literally can't drag people to something that they should be willingly walking towards, right? I mean, if somebody is giving you an opportunity and showing you the way, you have to be a willing follower. You can take the horse to the well, but you can't force the horse to drink the water. So essentially, that's another thing. If I'm holding myself back and you're giving me a platform, and if, let's say, I didn't take this opportunity, I didn't show up, Muniza didn't show up, whose loss is it? obviously you have to make time from the other commitments and the other priorities, because if you think something is important, you make time.
You
So
have to
nobody is
take
so busy.
out time.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we are not
आई थिंक
prioritizing
मेंटोरशिप को
ourselves.
ये बच्चों के लड़कियों की बजाय हमें ना ये हमें मेंस को करना चाहिए ये उनके पेरेंट्स को करना चाहिए मेंटोरशिप बिकॉज ऑफ द रीजन इज दैट कि देखिए आप फीमेल को हम जितना भी कर देंगे हेड स्ट्रांग बना देंगे eventually they will be always be on their parents will be always be on their head they will always be the higher thing. I think this mentorship part should be also
So
part
that's
of
the
the
reason
how
I
we
said school, right? So
changes
school. The
their
reason I
mental
say school
state when it
because,
comes to their parents as well.
yeah, I agree. And the reason I said catch them while they're young, I didn't mean just the women, right? So when you're doing
Yes.
this session, the guys should be there in those sessions as well, because those
Yes.
are the people who are at the peer level, right? So they will probably be the ones that would be, at the age group that they'll be marrying into, the people that they'll be working with, that they'll be entering, like, for example, management training programs, graduate training programs. There is so much masochism, there is so much misogyny deep rooted in the way people are being brought up, and that is where, it goes beyond mentoring just the females. We need to, of course, mentor the females to give them that strength, but the guys need to be hearing the same conversation, because we need male allies of change, like I said in the beginning.
So apart from thinking, this is like we are talking about mentors who people are with, but there are so many female-led businesses now as well who are working and who are providing multiple services. And all these female-led women businesses का जो main problem आ रहा होता है, well, especially when it comes to the getting a bigger projects or the corporate and projects. So उनको उस segment में उस area में अक्सर जो बड़े project या बड़े tier के projects होते हैं उनमें वो कंपनीज प्रेफर करती कि यार हम मेल को दे दें वो कर देंगे हालांकि फीमेल्स I have seen so many females they are much more hardworking they are much more prone they are much more attention to detail part but when it comes to एक trust level और एक mental एक वो level जो होता है men's में और for corporate to give a bigger project to women तो वो एक there's always a gap and there's always an issue. So, a woman entrepreneur, a woman led business go, how do you think so? A corporate company, a woman like you guys who are already in a big corporate position, वहाँ पर किस तरह से you think so you should be supporting these women and how do you think so that what are the issues or what are the gaps which you feel like that you these women why they are not able to get into that position or get those kind of a bigger projects so can
Okay,
you
no.
highlight that Monica would you like to start on that and then we can come on to Sadaf on this
Okay, yes. So what you're talking about is basically unconscious bias. I have seen my lifetime. Left my life through this unconscious bias. I've lived through it basically. So this is
yes
something I
I'm sure
yes, yes. So this is something which is just inbuilt. It's a mindset. It's so difficult to break a mindset, and that is why we
hmm
have forums which have come up, all these regulations that have come up where they want a woman on a board, to make sure that women's rights are protected and, to ensure also that there's, the flexibility as well as, creativity that comes in the thought in boardrooms. So I believe, it's going to take time. And as Sadaf mentioned, that if you do the mentoring at this age of, grade 10 and grade 9, so these are the people who will take it as, it's going to be taken for granted by these boys that our colleagues, our female colleagues, are going to be working women. So for them, I think it would not be such a mindset, change basically as it is for our generation and the generations who are senior to us. So I think, like, we just have to deal with it right now and make a conscious effort that we need empowerment. And you see, like, globally also a lot of initiatives have come up. For example, the ESG initiative that has been, like, that everybody is talking about, and which now I think from 1st January 2024, standards have come in where they need to, like, all these companies need to, like, be compliant of the standards. So what we can do is we can just, like, have in regulations, have people, like, in boardrooms who are supportive of the females who are, like, in those positions where, where you can offer them roles and responsibilities, and these small women entrepreneurs where you can make sure that you balance your contracts or something that you give out, so you have female representation in that as well. It is going to take time, but I think we have set up the tools basically that will like counteract this mindset and this gender bias and this unconscious bias, basically.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, Sadaf, would you please
I
give?
would love to. Okay, so policy is one area, policy and compliance definitely. I agree with Maniza that, at a policy level, at a systemic level, things need to be changed so that we provide that equitable level playing field to the women. But there's another connotation, right? When we talk about corporations taking this as a very serious initiative, so Seed Ventures did something with Unilever on the sustainability challenge. You would be surprised that top three were all women-led businesses. Standard Chartered, Women in Tech, 25 women-led businesses that made it to the finals. Amazing
Mm,
ideas, passionate girls. They needed mentoring, they needed the funding, and they made it through. Like, it was extremely challenging. Industry experts coming and judging them. So there's no shortage of talent there. And with the corporate support, because they can provide the financial muscle, the government can provide, and the regulators can provide the policy base. Both of these things combined can definitely make an impact. And we need industry leaders who are women and who are male allies of change to kind of create this awareness and break these stereotypes. It's going to take time. There is another aspect to what you said, Nomina. I feel that
mm,
at times I have taken on projects, I've had to take on projects, sometimes pro bono, just to prove myself in a man's world, because it is a man's world, right? I mean, it's a boys' club.
yes,
Um,
definitely.
and at that time, it wasn't about money or monetization for me. It was about just proving a point that I can do this and I can do this better than the guy next door. So essentially, there is one area where I feel women also lack. We are not taking ourselves too seriously when in the workplace. We put ourselves last, and sometimes ends up meaning that we put our business or our commitments professionally on the back burner as well. So somebody's kid is sick, the husband is not going to take the day off. The woman has a big presentation that day, but she's the one who's going to take the day off. I've seen this happen, right? Um,
Mm,
so we have to basically remove the unconscious bias is there, of course, but we're also contributing to it. We
mm,
are taking actions that create a conscious bias as well. She's not serious about her career. If we promote her to this level,
exactly.
she's always going to prioritize her family first, because her husband is not
Mm,
going to, or her brother or mother or whoever is not going to step up. So whenever she needs to take off, she'll take off. Whenever her child is sick, she's the only one who's going to take off. So we also have to sometimes sacrifice. There is nothing that comes without sacrifice. We need to
agree.
create this conscious perception as well. And this is something
Mm,
which a lot of women are not doing. A lot of women entrepreneurs, they're not being given big projects because there are doubts even in my head sometimes. Being a woman, I'm saying this very honestly. And I know a lot of
I
women,
agree.
feminist type women, will actually hate me for this, but I'm a very, call it as I see it kind of a person. I wouldn't give them the project, honestly, simply because I don't think that they're committed enough. And I don't want to look
Mm,
bad. I don't want to fail. I want to do well. So I would rather give it to somebody who is hungry for it, for the success, who's passionate about that work, and who's going to, if they commit, they're going to deliver. So that is something that we also need to do a little bit of introspection and self-reflection also, right? We can't always attribute
definitely,
everything to
definitely.
other person's bias.
Yes, yes. Nay, I agree with you. I feel like also there are many, many professional because I am also I started my journey years back in terms of my entrepreneurship journey. And I do say that a lot of people have said that, okay, every time I have to go, I have to prove that, I'm there and I've been there in the years. So it has made things easier for me because people know that, okay, she's going to be there. And after a year or two, she will not just wrap up everything and leave because of a kid has got an issue or some other issues or something like that. So we all have gone through a very, very different and difficult journeys and ups and downs. And definitely, this whole journey is not easy as an entrepreneur, as a corporate person, as a partner. And there's a lot of challenges. And as a woman, we do face a lot of challenges. And of course, then men has their own challenges as well. So I would like to just briefly highlight any two of three organization names, if you can quickly say where women can go and start their networking, who doesn't know anything about it, or who wants mentorship, or who wants to join like a group of people, like if you can say FPCCI or the Karachi chambers or the Islamabad chambers or Rawalpindi chambers, where would they would like to go, and at least they start somewhere with their networking and start understanding how the professional and business world works, and how professionally you can grow yourself, because what are the norms and what are the barriers and what are the things which you need to present yourself professionally in an organization in order to achieve get a bigger results or achieve more. So, Sadaf, would you want to highlight like two or three different, either the
So,
mentorship
so
programs or like a networking groups?
So basically, there's
Just
women in
the
tech.
name.
Yeah, so women in tech for there's She Leads Tech. Of course, there's Pasha for those women entrepreneurs who are into the software domain. Definitely, there's the chambers of commerce, etc. Then definitely there are some professional organizations, like there is the CIO forum, which is a global forum that does a lot of mentoring. There is Isaka. Then there are a number of other local, smaller setups and forums as well, like the networking guild that we were talking about. Essentially, that's also a good platform. It's a recent one, but definitely, over time, there's the CXO forum, which has brought about so many different events where you have opportunity at all tiers of the organization
Hmm.
to go and learn from them.
So,
Yeah,
Monica,
so if
would you want to highlight few of the forums, because
I
if people will, Gigi.
So, I believe that if you are a professional, woman, or you are a professional basically, so then, you also need to connect with the fraternity of your alma mater. For example, if you're a chartered accountant, you need to connect with your institute. And, there are a lot of networking opportunities that your alma
Absolutely.
mater provides. So, if you're an IBA graduate, if you're a CBM graduate, just connect with your alma mater, and check out what networking opportunities are they providing, because most of the times they are providing those opportunities. It's just that you are unaware about it. So this would be a good starting point for professionals. Now, if you talk about entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, I think there are organizations like the Ladies Fund run by the Dawood Global Foundation, which provide ample networking opportunities, and you also events where you can showcase your products and your services. And then I think you also have the FTCCI, which you mentioned. So you if you and then I think there's a mummy club also, that where we have these women who are also like, who have smaller children, and they have these events where you can just like, connect with other women who are your age and going through your age. Those when you have younger children, you have a different set of issues when you're also trying to run a business. So if you I think just do your legwork and your research work properly, you will come across different forums that are in place to help, you in your.
And I
Great,
think the
great.
entrepreneurs, the EO, the entrepreneurs organization, that's a really good forum as well. And essentially,
Hmm.
women entrepreneurs who are a part of that, they should also, I would say, could be instigators where, these kind of mentoring events take place, because so many events are taking place, but mostly it is like, everybody is wanting to meet some celebrities or some people who are really like, at high levels, or in the government or in various organizations, but not many events that are happening that happen with the focus of a component of mentoring being kind of like a part of that. So throughout the year there are so many events, and I think it is worth everybody's while to create those mentoring opportunities within those events, regardless of what the forum is.
I think so USAID is doing a lot in this end, and they are also encouraging a lot of entrepreneurship, giving them seed money in the medium different tiers as well. And then we have like other council international companies as well who are working on this, Karan Das, and then we have
Yeah.
Ignite and all those things. So, and then we have the local chambers of each city, they are working towards this. So, I would like to conclude this whole episode of webinar, and I would like to thank Muniza and Sadaf too for sharing their wisdom and experiences. And let's remember the future of leadership is bright and women are leading the way. You just need to be very strong. You need to be a little uh, constantly you need to make an effort to groom to yourself, and you need to also create an ecosystem. Doesn't mean that you are in a professional life, you should sideline your personal your house life. Work life balance is the main key thing, and once you have that, you will definitely will be succeeding a lot. And I hope women who have listened and are going to we will be sharing this video with on multiple platforms as well. Yet learn some things out of from these two women's experience and wisdom. Thank you so much again, Sadaf and Moniza.
Thank you,
It
Nomina.
was a really nice having you on board, and thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
so
Thank
much
you.
for having us. Thank you very much. Nafis.
thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.